Maybe you're good, but maybe you aren't GoPro good. Suddenly your book comes out, you don't have any control over the cover, you don't have any control over the marketing material, and you feel really powerless. Like this child of yours is being thrown out into the street, and they're like, yep, we'll see if he gets run over or not. As a new writer, you're kind of got the new shininess. This died.
All the world's a stage, and the Cosmere would appear no different. I think Hoyd would certainly agree, considering that he himself falls within the Shakespearean fool archetype. Even Odium might agree with this, considering how badly Ray's was played at the end of Rhythm of War. All puns aside, bear with me as we explore this metaphor and use it as a framework to better understand Sanderson's universe. In this episode, we'll be looking at shards and their vessels, and comparing them to actors and characters in a play respectively. The shard, in this case Odium, has been played by the actor Ray's since the Shattering. While Ray's has some freedom in his character choices in how he plays the part of Odium, at the end of the day he is still playing the part of Odium, with all of the hatred and passion that this entails. However, Ray's is getting slow, and his fellow actors think that he's maybe getting too far into character, and it's low-key starting to scare them. So, a few have decided to quietly fire and replace him with a different actor. Who will be cast? Will they be a good fit for the part? And, most importantly, how differently will the Shard of Odium be portrayed? All of these answers and more await you on the other side of the curtain. But you have been warned, major Rhythm of War spoilers will be there as well. Now is your last opportunity to turn back and watch something less riddled with spoilers. Might I recommend my video regarding Nightblood in the theater next door? So, before we cast our show, we should take a look at Odium and understand who, or what, this thing is. The Shard Odium is a fraction of the divine entity known as Adnalcium. Over 8,000 years ago, a group of people shattered this divine power into 16 equal parts, each section containing a different intent. Some examples include honor, ambition, mercy, and the one we're focusing on today, Odium. Odium is, above all, hateful. While he could be interpreted simply as overly passionate, most in the Cosmere would agree with the dragon Frost in calling it God's own divine hatred, separated from the virtues that gave it context. A sort of Old Testament god, angry, jealous, and vengeful. In other words, this shard wreaks havoc and lets slip the dogs of war, virtually regardless of the vessel that holds it. And Odium's plan since the Shattering has been brutal to say the least. At least 4 other shards are confirmed to have been shattered by Odium, and he does not seek to combine their power with his. Indeed, the game plan seems to be as such. Step 1. Take out all the shards that are in direct opposition to him. Step 2. Consolidate power. Step 3. Reign over the Cosmere as the one true eternal god. Step 4. Step 5. Profit. This appears to have been Odium's master plan, and it was even going quite well at first. But somehow he got bogged down in the Rosharan system, was wounded by honor, and was subsequently trapped on Braze for thousands of years. By the time Ray's was killed, he had succumbed to the will of his shard almost completely, losing any individual focus or determination separate from its raw, hateful power. To bring it back to our metaphor, he went way too method and got super weirdly into character. This allowed a fresh, new face to rise up and fill the role that Ray's had held onto far past his prime. Let's take a look at these two separate players and talk about how differently they will be playing the part of Odium. The very first vessel of Odium was Ray's, a human present during and complicit in the shattering of Adonalsium. We are told by Hoyd, a former friend of his, that Ray's was among the most loathsome, crafty, and dangerous individuals I had ever met. He chose the power of Odium very deliberately, thinking that it fit well with his personality and goals. We have no idea if he devised his shard-murdering spree before his ascension or immediately upon ascending to Odium, but either way, shards started being eliminated almost immediately. This is only speculation, but I assume that he had this plan before ascending, and here's why. Ray's was, above all, ambitious. He strikes me as a cutthroat dude that would easily step on others so that he might end up on top. This was, after all, his goal, to become the one sole god of the Cosmere. But eventually, he was trapped and weakened, and the power of the shard started to override Ray's personality and will. And then, he started to make some very, very big mistakes. This all culminated with a terrible deal with Dalinar, and the blunder that would end his life and godhood. But before we kill off Ray's, let's take a quick look at the life of Odium's next vessel, his understudy if you will. I am talking, of course, about none other than Taravangian. Taravangian, king of Kharbranth, was born with his umbilical cord wrapped around his neck. He was said to be a slow child as a result, and though he grew into a brilliant young mind, this reputation of deficiency never truly left him. And so, he used it to his advantage. He let those around him see his quiet, humble side, all while exercising the supreme power in Kharbranth. When it became clear that a new desolation was about to begin, Taravangian sought the help of the Night Watcher, but was received by Cultivation herself. She granted him exactly what he wanted, the capacity to save humankind. Every day, his demeanor swung wildly within a spectrum of absolute, passionate emotion and cold, calculating genius. He was randomly assigned a spot on this spectrum each morning, and on a day of near limitless brilliance, Taravangian composed his seminal work, The Diagram, a complex written plan to save Roshar. It was calculating, brutal, and brilliant in equal measure, and it would allow him to save humanity. He did horrific actions in the name of the greater good, including slowly draining the dying of their blood to gain access to the death rattles, or prophetic visions of the future. But his initial plan started to fall apart after Dalinar screwed it all up by being, like, a good person and stuff. This forced a readjustment to Taravangian's approach, and so, he made a deal with Odium, saving the people of Kharbranth, and Kharbranth alone. A year went by under Odium's control, where a betrayal of the Coalition was set up and executed. But a funny thing happened after the betrayal. Taravangian saw a new pathway forward, a new way to save humanity. He engineered a situation where Odium and Nightblood ended up in the same place at the same time. As he lay dying, he drew Nightblood, killing Ray's and allowing Taravangian to ascend, thus becoming the Shard Odium. We leave him at the end of Rhythm of War with a chilling prospect when taken with the context of Odium's core characterizations. He vows to save them. He vows to save them all. We will get deep into this in just a bit, but before we proceed, there's one quick thing I'd like to take a look at. Ever since Taravangian's ascension at the end of Rhythm of War, there's been a big debate as to what to call the Taravangian-Odium combo, both in my comments section and on other platforms. I've heard Taravangian. I've heard Odivangian. We've all seen Todium. But my favorite, one that is able to perfectly encompass the complex nature of this shift of fate and the name I'll be using for the rest of this episode, is Todd. In fact, if we wanted to continue this belabored theater metaphor, we could even call him Sweeney Todd. But something tells me that Sondheim wouldn't really be Taravangian's thing, so let's just call him Todd. So, we've gone ahead and fired Ray's. Nobody really liked that guy anyways. Now we have a shiny new Odium, critics' pens are poised, and the audience can't wait to see what he brings to the character. But there is one question first and foremost on all their minds. What will this mean for the Cosmere? Well, quite frankly, a ton. Taravangian has always been smart, but he's had that enhanced by cultivation herself, and now is on a literal galaxy brain level on top of that. And he's hell-bent on saving them all, a phrase that has inspired much speculation online. In talks with Dalinar pre-Ascension, Taravangian has played Dalinar's foil and insisting that the end justifies the means, and as cruel as it is, I believe that Taravangian would agree with Reyes in at least one regard. A single, all-powerful god would lead to less conflict, less destruction. Todd will most likely stick to the path that Reyes has set out on, but with fewer limitations, a wealth of new knowledge, and a literal god-given level of genius. Todd can see into the future, interpret it, and then process all that cosmic information in his big god brain. This dude is the Weird Sisters with the power to act on his own cosmic riddles, and chances are, he's going to use this power to escape from Braze one way or another. I would also guess that Todd will be far less reluctant to mix his intent with others, possibly going so far as to take up some of the other shards that have already been shattered. And while I find it likely that Todd is going to be far more subtle about his Cosmere dealings than his predecessor, I would guess that the other shards will be far wearier of him. They don't know him, they don't know what he's capable of, and they don't know how profoundly he will be affected by his shard's intent. But they should be scared, because Odium reigns anew. And yet, there is hope, for Todd cannot tell the future for certain, and he is nowhere near omnipresent. In fact, there's one specific place that's mentioned he cannot see into: the hearts of those who act. Huh. It's funny. I feel like hearts were mentioned somewhere else in the book. Where was that? Where could it have been? Oh. Oh. And so, our revels now are ended. These are vessels, as I foretold you, are now spirits, ascended into air, into thin air. And, like the baseless fabric of this video, we must bring our first act to a close. But fear not, for Act 2 of this series is well on its way, where we'll see Hoid and Odium meet for the first time in millennia, with consequences that could have a profound impact on both Odium's plan and Hoid's ability to not poop his pants. Who will win? Who will lose? Who am I? Where did my memories go? I don't know. Stay tuned and find out. Man, it feels good to get back to Cosmere Connections episodes. I'll be sticking with these until I have something I need to get out quickly, like reviews or quick thoughts. I do plan on releasing at least one episode a month next year though, and would love your help deciding the direction of the next few episodes. I'll be posting a poll in the community tab with a few episode ideas, and your input will help me decide which ones I will be prioritizing in the near future. Together, we shall create our own diagram and form the future to our liking. Storms, I've had fun rambling about all this with you, and hopefully you've had even half that fun watching. I'd kindly remind you to like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter for some quality creme posting, as well as general updates. You'd better have a fantastic day, folks. Or else. No, seriously though, have a good day. Where's my water? Did I forget it upstairs? Dang it!